Welcome to the BracketLife interviews. My name's Andrew Stirk. I normally am joined by my counterpart, Brandon Barker, but Brandon couldn't make it here today. So we're going to sit down. We're doing interviews with various racers and champions from the Toronto Motorsports, Custom Car and Motorsports Expo. Today we've got most recent winner of the World Series of Pro Modified, Spencer Hyde. Spencer last week just came off of the biggest win in Pro Modified history. I'm just throwing it out there because that's how we looked at it. 61 cars went down to Bradenton, Florida. 32 got in the field. One guy was left standing, and that was Spencer Hyde. Spencer, thank you for joining me today. We'll hopefully be joining me again on Tuesday, and we do a live broadcast on our podcast on Tuesday night. I'm going to get a chance to sit down with you here a little earlier, and the folks here at the show will be able to walk us through that week is kind of what I'm looking to do. But before we go there, I kind of want to get some background. Bracket Life show, so we do a lot of bracket talk. That's predominantly where our focus is. Your background came from bracket racing before you got into Pro Modified racing. So how did you get into racing? Where did that start? Who was that? And kind of where did you get up to the point where you got to Pro Modified?
So when I was a kid, I was always on dirt bikes and four-wheelers, and I wanted to race motocross. And my dad grew up around flat track racing, and a lot of his good buddies seen them get hurt pretty bad. So motocross was out of the question. Flat track was out of the question. A friend of mine, Joey Hishin from Stratford, had a pretty successful hockey career. He was racing junior dragsters at the time. A lot of people know the Hishin family. Been around forever, been racing forever. That beautiful 39 Willys they got. Anyway, so I started going to the racetrack with Joey and watching him, and decided that we're going to give this a try. And we bought a junior dragster in 2006, and I ran my first race Windsor weekend 2006 in Grand Bend, and we won the race. First time out, so it wasn't hard to get hooked. Kind of caught the bug right away, and we ran the full season in 2007, both classes at Grand Bend, the 790 and the junior 13 to 17, and we did pretty good. I think I was third in the 790 and fourth or fifth in the 13 to 17, and Bailey Atkinson, she was I could never beat her. She kicked my ass every time.
You're not the only one. Don't worry.
Man,
I struggled with her too.
I never raced her in big cars, but I'm glad because you watch her and Jade, they cleaned up forever. But anyways, from there I started helping Jim McCann run his top dragster in 2008. He had a blown small block and blown small block Chevy that ran mid to low sixes, and he happened to keep his car at the hangar by the Stratford Airport, which was only a couple miles from my house. So I'd ride my four-wheeler down there on Tuesday nights and help them wrench on that thing, and I started racing with them in 08, going to crew, and anyways, at the end of 08, I was 16, so junior dragster was kind of in the rearview mirror, and I was looking to step up to a big car, and we were actually looking at buying Jade Atkinson's, the pink and purple dragster, and we were going to go that route, and but the blower car kind of caught my eye, and Jim said, well, why don't you jump in this thing and give it a spin? So the end of 08, I jumped in it in Grand Bend, and Jim told me he was going to leave the burnout pin in and kind of let me ease down the track, and I guess Rich Ingram, the crew chief, had different thoughts. He had no intention of leaving the burnout pin in, and he pulled it out, and I put it on the two-step, and actually back then it was an air throttle. Anyways, it left, and it went like 429 to the 8th at like almost 170, and obviously caught my attention. So from there on in, we raced the full season in 2009 in the dragster. That was the newly formed Quick 32 series, so we ran that. I think we ended up 7th or 8th in points with that deal, and then we bought a Cobalt ex-Pro Stock car off Carl Spearing and ran that for a few years in Top Sportsman in the Quick 32 series as well, and then we bought the 68 Camaro, which was a twin paint job. It was also an ex-Ricky Smith Pro Mod car.
I was going to ask, that's the Ricky car, right?
Yeah, but the Cobalt was too.
Yep.
Ricky ran that Cobalt in IHRA Mountain Motor Pro Stock. So we bought the 68 and started running it, naturally aspirated. It was an easy car to run, and I got a lot of seat time in that car, and that's what kind of turned me into a good driver, I guess. And I probably put 300 or 400 laps on that thing in Top Sportsman, running anywhere from 690 to 710, and just built my confidence. I got good on the tree, and so we never won the championship, but we won 3 or 4 races with that car.
You did very well with that car.
Yeah, and Mike Hinbest always beat me in the final of that dragster door car runoff. I think he beat me 3 times in the final. We were both sponsored by Napa and Ideal Supply at the time, so it was.
So the company wasn't too worried about it.
No, they were getting the trophy regardless. But for some reason, I could never get around him. I think the last time it was 005 red, and he was like 400.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's racing. So that car kind of evolved from Top Sportsman into a short stint in Outlaw 10.5. That's kind of where I got my start in heads-up racing, and really started to learn power management and stuff like that. And that actually re-sparked my interest in racing was the tuning side of it. Started working with Rob Atchison. He kind of taught me a lot of stuff, the tuning side of it and power management. And anyways, then we decided to try Pro Modified, and we went out at the end of, I think it was 2018, and ran some Pro Mod stuff, and happened to beat Rob at one of the races, and that was the end of him telling me how to do things. So
it's funny how those deals dry up so fast, right? When you run someone.
So yeah, we started out running them, and he wasn't all of a sudden didn't want me looking at the computer anymore.
Yeah, no more adjustments coming. Right?
Yeah. So, but anyways, then we ran kind of local Pro Mod for a couple of years, and then kind of figured out we needed to upgrade cars. We needed to upgrade our program to go and run in the U.S. and be successful and keep up with all these guys. So we did. We bought a Bickle car off of Roger Henson out of Mississippi. It was a 2015 World Championship car that Bubba Stanton drove in Pro Extreme and PDRA. And
is this where the Bubba runoff at the World Series of Pro Mod comes from?
This is where the Bubba runoff comes from. So I had actually never met Bubba in person till last weekend. I've talked to him on the phone 20 times, all kinds on Facebook, kind of shit talking one another, and just for fun. And he kind of called me out last year. He wanted me to come down to Texas and run him. And we were planning on going. I had the car ready to go. It was an outlaw deal, no weight, no overdrive limit. So, he had the upper hand. He's got a bunch of data at that. We had nothing, but I shouldn't say we had nothing. Mark Savage has ran a lot of Pro Extreme stuff, so he knew what we had to do. But long story short, we didn't get down there. I had a couple of my crew guys were in harvest season, so I was short some crew guys, and we just decided to not go. And anyways, he kind of bugged me about it for a while, telling me I kind of bitched out on him. And anyways, so when this deal came up, when we got invited to the World Series of Pro Mod, Wes Buck said, anybody you want to run on Friday night? I said, yeah, I want to run Bubba Stanton.
Just immediately off the top,
yeah,
that's the guy.
Didn't even have to think about it. I said, I want to run Bubba Stanton, and I want to show him he shouldn't have sold his hot rod.
And that's exactly what happened,
and
if I
that's
remember
exactly
that correctly.
Well, he outran me, but he forgot to let go of the button. So
the win light. No one
right.
remembers the numbers.
That's right.
Everyone just remembers the win light.
So, but back to, before I forget, you asked me how I got into drag racing, and my cousin, Jack Hyde, who's now in his early 80s, he raced back in the 60s, a 66 Biscayne called Jack in the Greenstock. And I grew up around that car and went to the racetrack with him, and he's kind of the reason that I'm in this. And
that's the tribute to your current
yeah,
rap,
so
and
when
that's the
he
tribute
turned
to that
80
car.
last summer, it was actually in January, but for the Stratford weekend race, I wanted to do something cool, and so we wrapped it up like Jack in the Greenstock, and it was received pretty well by the fans and friends and family, so we just decided to keep it on the car, and this weekend I had a lot of people asking me the story about it, and when I told them, they're like, oh wow, that's a really cool story, glad we asked. And obviously we got a lot of press on it this weekend going to the winner's circle, so I think we'll probably have to leave that on there for a bit.
I think that's not going anywhere. The next car might have a similar paint wrap at this moment.
I think so.
Let's jump ahead a little bit. So I want to set up the like how we got to the World Series of Pro Mod. So Wes Buck puts out there they're going to put on this gigantic race, right? It's going to be the race to end all races for Pro Modified. We're going to do invites. We're going to invite the best in the planet to come to it. You get to midwinter. Invites are rolling out. You're seeing names somewhat daily, almost every other day. There's certainly a long list waiting by the phone. How did you get your invite? How did that happen? How much time did you get? Because this isn't the type of thing you just say, yeah, we're going to go racing on a Wednesday and you're there at the track on a Friday. This is the biggest race conceivably known to man in Pro Modified. How was that? Tell me about that.
Well, I was fortunate enough to receive that 30 under 30 from Drag Illustrated, so I got to meet a bunch of those guys during that deal in 2021. And so I had their contact information, and of course when they announced this race, I reached out to them and said, hey guys, like, I know I'm not a very big name, but if there's an opening, I'd love to be there. I said, we'll be ready to go. Let me know if there's room. And they all got back to me and said, hey, you're on our radar, but you're right. There's a lot of names out there, and we're not going to promise you anything. I said, no problem. Just keep me in the back of your mind. I'll be ready to go if I get the call. So a month or so goes by, and no word. Sent a few more feeler texts just to see, and still
just to keep the name at the top of the list,
just so they're seeing my name. And anyways, I decided. I said I think I should go to PRI and kind of rub shoulders with these guys and show my face and see if I can talk my way into this deal. So we had a company Christmas party on the Thursday night. So obviously I couldn't make it to their DI party at the bar there, which was kind of where I wanted to do it. But anyway, so I got up, did the Christmas party, got up early Friday morning, drove straight to Indy, 7 hours or whatever. Go to the 30 under 30 conference and kind of see everybody, see Wes. And Wes knows who I am, but he we're not buddies by any means at this point. And so introduced myself again to him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, good to see you. Thanks for coming." I said, "Hey, by the way, if you got some room in that race, I'd love to come." He's like, "Oh, we're thinking about you, blah blah." So, anyways, long story short, go to the PDRA banquet that night, and hanging around, sitting with Melanie and John and their crew, and chatting with all the other PDRA guys, and Courtney Enders is there, and so I started chatting with her, and she says, "Well, I'm pretty influential there." I said, she goes, "I like you. I think I can put a good word in for you." I said, "Whatever." Night goes on, end up hanging out with her and run into JT Hudson, who's Wes's brother-in-law. We end up in the lobby of the what's the big blue hotel there that they all stay at?
Yeah,
the one right downtown.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it either, but
anyways, we end up there and drinks are flowing, and we're starting to talk a little crazy, and one thing led to another, and I said, "JT, I really want to be there." And he goes, "Man, I like you. You're a lot of fun. You're an honest guy." Blah blah. He goes, "I promise you, if I don't get you into this race, I'll quit my job." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." So anyways, I think we ended the night at 3:30 or 4 in the morning. I go to bed, get up the next day, drive home, and didn't hear anything for this is December 8th or whatever it is.
9th, 10th, something like that. Yeah.
And so Christmas goes by. We're well into the new year. I haven't heard anything. My uncle, who's helped me on the crew since I was in junior dragster, he goes, "Hey, what's the deal? Are we going to this race or not?" I said, "We haven't heard nothing." I said, "Probably not." He goes, "Okay, well, I'm going to book a trip to Jamaica." I said, "Yeah, go for it." Anyways, he books a trip. 3 days later, Courtney texts me and goes, "Hey, I think you're going to get in." And I go, "Well, I really need to know because I just kind of committed to driving Peyton's top fuel car in Gainesville, and I can't do both." She says, "Okay, leave it with me." And the next day at lunch, it was a Friday, Wes calls me and says, "Hey, I'd like to formally invite you to this deal. Are you going to be ready to go?" And I'm like, "Absolutely." Meanwhile, I'm like, "No, I'm not even close." I wasn't planning on going out till the first PDRA, which is a month and a half later. So I get on the phone right away and start calling Noonan and all my parts people, and ended up having everything shipped to Justin Bond's shop in Georgia. Drive my rig down there on the Saturday before, and And
The weekend before.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was actually 2 weeks before the
2
race.
weeks, yep.
And Mark Savage is working there, and roll the car out of the trailer into Justin's shop, pull an engine out, put a rack in it, put all new cylinder heads together and everything, and basically make the whole race car ready to go. And back in the trailer, and down to Gainesville, where I ran Peyton's fuel car and got my top fuel license, which was
And I don't mean to gloss over that. I mean, like, congratulations, like Canada's most recently licensed top fuel pilot as well, right?
Yes,
This all
thank
happens
you.
in the same time frame as
Yeah.
World Series of Pro Mod is going on. So this is a hell of a 10-day stretch as you got going on between Clay Milliken signing off.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and then you've got World Series coming up. So let's jump ahead and get into that the pre-event testing. Like, there was a lot going on, big names rolling in. You and Mark, there's a strategy I've understood when you get into this type of racing of how we're going to go and approach it. And I know you touched on this earlier. You've got data from Bradenton, you've got run numbers there, you've been fast there, and all of a sudden you get into test week, and it's not the same in a lot of senses in December. The race weekend specifically wasn't.
Yeah.
What was your strategy going into testing to get yourself ready for qualifying? Because this has got to be a weird spot to be in, where there's really 59, 60 other people here that could out-qualify anyone. Like, this is no set list.
Easily. Well, you saw the final qualifying sheet. There's 55 cars within a tenth of a second. So everybody had their stuff together, and anybody could have won this deal. But Monday we got there, and the weather was nothing like we expected. And I got all the data I have is basically useless. And, thankfully, Mark races full-time, and this is what he does, and he's very good at it. And he says, don't worry, we'll get this figured out. It's just going to take some work. I said, okay, well, we're willing to work. So he says, well, let's go make a lap with how it's set up and see what it does. So we started, we go out, let go of the button, slow. Change the stator. We put 5 stators in and 9 test runs. Finally went back to one that we kind of ran somewhere in the middle that we thought would be a good starting point. And went out Friday. Friday was windy, so we didn't get to run till like 6 at night. So it actually cooled down, and we had kind of set up to run in the heat. So anyways, we made a decent lap Friday night. We went 369, and I thought, well, we're in the field. We're safe. The fastest bump ever was a 69. It's way hotter. It's not going to be that fast.
You weren't the only one thinking that.
No.
We were back home talking that Spencer's in.
Yeah. And our whole crew was like a big kind of relief. It was like, okay, we're solidly in the field. Well, Friday night rolls around. We didn't run till midnight. And these guys are clicking off like mid to low 60s, like nothing, like everybody. And I'm like, oh, no, this isn't good. So then, anyways, I think we ended up 21st at the end of Friday night. We had gone to 68, so we went faster Friday night. Yep. And, so it was crazy fast. And then Saturday rolls along out in the heat again, so it's 3 o'clock at the track.
Q3 is not a good session
here
to probably get yourself in. Like,
exactly.
If you're on the outside.
But we thought we need to make a good run here because this is going to be race day conditions. So this is really the most important run of qualifying because we need this for Sunday. Anyways, we go out and we changed engines after Q2. The throttle hung open on me Q2 Friday night, and it was on the chip for like 2 seconds. So we had 11 runs on it. We said, let's just pull it out. We'll put the other motor in, and we'll run the rest of the weekend. Anyways, well, the thing doesn't run very good on Q3 with that engine. There's some goofy stuff going on with the gear drive in the front end and some timing issues. Anyways, after Q3, Mark goes, pull that engine out. It's no good. We got to put the other one back in. And I go, Mark, like, we have 45 minutes till we're run. He's like, well, we can't run it like that. And I'm like, okay. So the boys pull the engine out. We didn't even have a camshaft in the spare engine. We took the cam out of it to put in this engine. So we get the engine out, and Wes is trying to put this camshaft in the engine, and it's given him, he had already done it twice, and it went flawlessly. And this time, all of us are standing watching him because we're in a rush. And
Due
of course,
to be a flaw now,
and
right?
he had to time it in like 4 different times. And anyways, he's getting frustrated. Anyways, we got it done, but they were running the first pair of Pro Mods. We didn't even have an engine in the car. Thankfully, we were 23rd pair, and Justin Bond was over helping us put it together, and he's kind of trying to make light of the situation because we're all stressed out. He's cracking jokes, and anyways, we got it done. We got it on the ground. We quick fired it up. We didn't even lash the valves, nothing. Like, we just sent it up there. And then we got up there and realized that, hey, we're on the bump spot.
Yeah.
Like, which I didn't think the bump would get anywhere close to 68, but it did.
At that point, every pair going down was the new bump.
Right.
Or creating a new bump. Like, it was an incredible 45 minutes.
It was wild. So anyways, by the time we ran, we were 35th. And as you've seen, we bumped in by 1 thou.
So and that brings us to a good point. So, like, you're going into that now after all this rush. Like, what have you done combo-wise set up for this? Because, like, you know roughly you know where the bump is because you're outside. You're the last car left that can bump in. Everyone after this is just jockeying for first place, really, because positions don't matter on a chip draw setup.
Yep.
What are you looking at doing here? Because now you've got to run faster than you've run to date to an extent and get in on the fastest field, and you've got a motor that clearly at this moment is now giving you everything but fits to get here.
Yeah, so we didn't, like I said, the throttle hung open on this thing, so we should have pulled the rods out of it and checked it, and we didn't have time to do that. So we just, kind of tapped on the oil pan and said, hang on, baby, we're going again. And so we went up there, and Mark said, we gotta kind of shoot for one here. Like, and the 68's not a great run for us. I mean, we've gone much faster consistently before, but the car was fighting us all weekend, so we didn't really have the confidence that we normally have going into a session like that. And under the circumstances, I'm not going to lie to you, like, my brake leg was shaking like crazy. We get back, and we're happy as hell because we got in, and he's like, man, why'd you roll in so deep? You scrubbed some ET. And I'm like, dude, I couldn't even hold my leg. Like, it was bouncing on the pedal. Like, I'm surprised I didn't roll right through the beams. Anyways, like I said, we got in by 1 thou and bumped out Brandon Snyder, who's like, world number 2 in NHRA. He's no slouch. Like, yep. And there's so many cars that aren't in, like Melanie Salemi, who easily could have won that race.
There's at least 10 cars that you would have put in the top 10 sitting behind you.
Exactly. Like, and there's tons of good teams. They're all good teams, but like, anyway, so we're ecstatic that we got in, and we got back to the pits, and everybody just wanted to drink some beer and celebrate a bit, and we found a broken frame rail. And
in most other cases, this is game over.
Right. And honestly, when I first looked at it, I was like, oh man, there's no way we're fixing that. Like, it's bad. Anyways, the Wes started looking at it, and he's like, I think we can fix it. And Khaled Belushi comes over, and he goes, oh, hey, buddy, just drive my car. Like, we got lots of cars. Just drive one of mine. And I'm like, wow, I've never drove your car, Khaled. Like, thank you, but I'd really like to drive my car. Anyways, so they kind of opened up their trailers, said, whatever you need out of our trailers to get this thing fixed, it's all yours. And that's a pretty cool story in itself. Just racers helping racers. I don't really know these guys that well. I mean, it's a connection through Mark Savage, but they treated us, like family, and
they came and thrashed with you.
Yeah, they did. They came and thrashed. They gave me, they had chromoly over there. We used a bunch of pipe and some welding rod and stuff like that, and Wes Goddard and Greg Patterson, my other crew guy, they stayed up till 2:30 in the morning and got this thing back together. And
Wes took a week off to go work.
Wes took 2 weeks off because he went and helped Louis. We met at Lights Out before.
Right. Yeah.
So
this is a new full-time job for him.
Yeah, he was gone a long time, and Wes, he's a mechanic by trade, but I mean, he works full-time at that, but he puts twice as many hours in on a race car after work and on the weekends every week. Pretty special dude.
So let's jump ahead, and I don't want to gloss through, but round one, every race I found, like big race I've ever been to and watched, there's always a lucky round. There's that one round where you go, that's the bullet we've dodged. Yep. Your bullet was in round one. Tommy Gray goes up, goes red. Car doesn't make a great pass, but doesn't matter. Win lights on. You're moving on to round number 2. In the end, Tommy ends up making a run that would have been one of the fastest ones of the session.
He would have won pretty much any other race. If he wouldn't have went red, he would have won pretty much every round.
From there on
every
out.
pair, yeah.
So bullets dodged, that's not in the bank anymore. Now you got to go right through this. Round 2, whole shot victory. Now through this, the car's stepping up. You're finding power. You and Mark are tuning. You're at the bottom end of some of the winning ETs, but every round's getting better. You're winning on whole shots. You are going up there and you were driving the wheels off this. And I was watching it at home, and every round you're seeing another win light come on. You're watching some of the other Canadians go around. Some are falling. And specifically, I remember round 3, I think it was round 3, maybe round 4, but you got out at the top end. It was finally when they were doing the top end interviews, because now they've whittled this down to a manageable number to do this, right? You had mentioned in an interview prior that if you could just get in, you knew you could hang with everyone here if you just came to your game plan. But you specifically got out and says, I've got a good feeling about this. And that speaks a lot when you watch someone get out of the car. And again, you're not sitting low ET, but you were driving the wheels off it. You've left on everyone. Yeah. What was that moment? What caused that comment of, something, I got a good feeling here? What changed in that round to have that mentality?
Well, back to round 1, it made a horrible run. It was 381. I was so nervous. We were the first pair. I forgot to change the main jet, I'm not going to lie. So the thing was so fat compared to where it had to be from the night before. And anyways, I thought about that in the burnout. And I was like, oh, no, this thing's going to be so slow. And he red lit, and, I'm like, okay, like you said, there's my lucky round. Everybody needs a lucky round. So that was it. And then after that round, we found a broken torque converter. And
just to add to the list of things,
right? But the thing, like I said, our car was fighting us all weekend, and we couldn't figure it out. And finally, Mark says, he goes, I think something's wrong in the converter. Like, this thing's doing some weird stuff. So we pulled it out, and of course, found a broken part in the stator, and so we put that back in. And when we made the run against Eric, we weren't trying to go fast. Like, we were trying to go 71. It's exactly what Mark wanted to go, and it went 71. And when a crew chief can call what the car is going to do before it does it, that builds confidence for not only him but myself. So when we beat Eric, car went 71. It wasn't the quickest of the round at all. I think it was the only 70 that moved on. Everybody else was in the 60s. And third round against Marcus Burt, that was honestly the round I was the most nervous for. He's not nicknamed the Axe Man for nothing. He's normally very, very stout on the tree. He missed it. I went 0.26, and I think that's when I got out and I said I got a good feeling about this. I had my hot rod back. The thing was running like it was supposed to be running. My lights were coming around.
You guys were finding ET.
We were building confidence, and I knew that we could pick away at it once we had the thing working the way it was supposed to, and I knew it was now working how it was supposed to. And we did. We just kept picking away at it every round. I kept, good on the tree, and then in the finals, I knew, anytime you race a Tutaro car, it's going to be fast, especially at night. And, I told Mark, I said, we're going to have to do something special here. Like, I don't think 65 is going to cut it.
Well, that's where it brings up is it's finally in round 4. You went on a whole shot in round 4, but you've outrun Kurt Steding.
Right.
So you have lane choice.
3 or 4 thousand. I think we went 55.4, and he went 65.4, and he went 65.9. So we had lane choice going in the final, but I don't think it matters. Both lanes were great. I ran left lane mostly, but I ran right lane against Marcus Burt, and it was just as good. But I told Mark, I said, we're going to have to do something we haven't done here. Like, we had to go in uncharted territories here. So he says, well, I think I can go 63 out there. I said, well, is that aggressive? He goes, yeah, probably. I said, well, maybe we'll go 64. He goes, I'll make it go 64. And he did. Again, he called it. He said, oh, it's going to go 364 something. Yeah. And it did. So.
Yeah, and that was, I know he joked on the interview at the Venice. He was just glad to finally outrun someone with his tune-up, right?
Yeah, he was mad at himself all day for not making it run good. I said, dude, I told you, just get me within striking distance. If I can do my job on the Christmas tree, if you can get me within 100th, we're going to be all right.
We're going to hang with him.
And we were until the final, and then he saved my ass.
Yeah, I remember watching that interview too, and you could see the elation in his face. So just finally seeing a number. The win light was big, but I think the number meant something more to him too.
Oh yeah.
I think one of the things I'd like to touch on here, and maybe we'll try to wrap it up because I've got some questions that we rapid fire after this. What does this mean win to you? Like, how does this change what you're going to do moving forward with racing? Has it changed anything that you plan to do? Because this puts you on a radar and a spectrum that's, vastly different than just 2 weeks ago in a lot of senses. What does that do?
That's actually a tough question. Racing's a hobby for me. The last week, it's felt a little bit more like a job. My phone has gone crazy. Not just with fans and friends and sponsors, but parts manufacturers. All of a sudden, they want to know, were you running our stuff? Or I know you have ran our stuff. Did you have it in the World Series of Pro Mod? And Star Racers sending me blower belts. Neil Chance is looking to partner up with doing some converter stuff, and and Goodyear dropped off a set of slicks in Gainesville for Mark. Said, "Here, give these to Spencer. We noticed he was on Hoosiers." Like, so it's all changing so fast, and it hasn't really sunk in yet. But I guess I'm gonna have to look at it a little bit more serious here. And not that we didn't take it serious before, but it's definitely changed the game. I wasn't coming to Motorama until Tuesday when Greg,
Tuesday or Wednesday.
You and Greg text me
and
it's like,
we really wanted the car too. We were
no,
pushing
I know.
hard
And
for
you
the
know what?
car,
I
too.
would have brought the car, but it's motors are in Georgia and cars going to Wes's to get fixed properly. And anyways, it's just it's been a whirlwind, but it's crazy. It's just really awesome.
So one of the other things, and this is a bit tougher maybe, but going into that event, I mean, there were a lot of people proud to see 5 Canadian cars heading down there, and to see 4 get in, and Melanie made it obviously into the second chance race,
Right.
and walked away with it. But there was a real, I want to say there was a real galvanization amongst people to actually see you and Kenny, but you specifically, because he held the flag very high for a lot of
absolutely.
rounds. What do you think this win, your win, means to Canadian drag racing? Because this is a win that, there's a Canadian flag. This isn't someone who's from Canada who's left and, has left a lot of those roots. You're very much proud to be Canadian. You're very much a Canadian team. And you've won the biggest pro-modified race on the planet. What do you think this does for Canadian drag racing?
I hope it's pretty big. I hope it shows Canadians that, you don't have to go move all your stuff to the U.S. and run out of the U.S. to be successful down there. It's tougher racing out of Canada. It's more expensive to race out of Canada. There's a lot of downfalls, but at the end of the day, it's like you said, it's pretty cool to be Canadian and go down and beat up on the Americans. I mean, when I say beat up on them, I mean in a good way. Like they're very welcoming, and nobody was really upset that a Canadian won, I don't think. Especially Canadians, I think they were pretty happy about it.
No one up here upset about that at all.
Judging by my Facebook notifications, they were pretty happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just work hard. Like, you don't have to be a full-time team. You just gotta, all my guys have jobs. None of us. I don't pay any of my guys. I pay Mark to help tune me, but I give them some travel money and stuff like that. But these guys do it because they love it as much as I do, and anybody can do that. You just have to work hard at it and surround yourself with good people and go down and be proud and hang your head high.
That's solid advice. I mean, you see the teams that are doing that sort of thing, like in your world of doing it out of Canada, and you know what? They don't get to go in all the events, but you see that type of dedication to it like you're talking about, and it's worked out for success. I'm going to shift mode here. So we're going to go back to bracket mode for a minute.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to go into round robin, some hot lapping questions here.
Okay.
Single quick answer. Right. We'll roll through this quick. Favorite Winter Circle beverage?
Miller Lite, cold Miller Lite.
Most underrated late night track dinner option?
I still got to go back to just a good old cheeseburger.
Fair enough. Your camp has cheeseburgers after racing?
Yeah.
I'm lucky to have mac salad, to be honest with you.
We made cheeseburgers at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, I don't have that type of fortitude to do that. Okay, favorite drag racer, past or present?
I got to go with Jack Hyde.
Name a class in drag racing you don't currently race in, so Top Fuel's off the table simply because you got a license now, that you would want to try.
I would like to try Pro Stock. I think shifting gears looks pretty fun.
I agree. I was watching the Mountain Motor and watching them row through those 800-inch. I could do that once or a lot. What's your number one place to stop for food when traveling on the road to a race?
Love's Truck Stops.
Yes.
Their coffee's the best.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that.
Bar none.
No, not at all. Would you rather win an NHRA World Championship or one of the OG $1 million bracket races?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
That's
a tough question. They'd both be pretty prestigious, but maybe the $1 million.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll go back and forth with that too. I'll be honest with you. I got roots in NHRA racing. There's prestige to that, but
absolutely.
I got you. Longest distance you've ever dragged the battery charger behind your car in the lanes?
I can say that I've actually never done that, so not very far.
Fair enough then. Favorite racing movie? Name a quote from it to prove it.
Talladega Nights. If you ain't first, you're last.
That's very good. That is well thought up. I like that. All right. best pro mod driver in the history is who? On the spot.
That's tough. Probably Jason Scruggs. That guy races like 4 times a year and comes out and qualifies number 1 and number 2 at every event he goes to. And he's a really nice guy to boot.
Fair enough. All right, last question. If you could have any sponsorship in the world, and the terms of the deal are you could have a never-ending supply of what they sell, what are you grabbing?
Probably engines. Like Noonan or something like that.
That's a great plug. I'll make sure they get this. All right. That's all our questions for tonight. Spencer, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come and doing this with us. We look forward to having you on the show for Tuesday. We'll go back through this. I'll come up with some new authentic questions for you so we can dive deeper into other stuff. Everyone, Spencer Hyde, World Series of Pro Mod champion.
Thanks, guys.